Welcome to Joy in the Breakthrough, a podcast where we'll be talking to a wide range of leaders from different generations and backgrounds who found power in being broken open. I'm Connie, Lindsay.
And I'm Valencia. We are your hosts, and we believe that our challenges can lead to breakthroughs, and we want to share those insights with you.
We hope these stories will inspire you to explore the I'm possible in you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us with Joy in the Breakthrough. Again, we are season 2.
Congratulations.
Here. I'm so excited. We had an amazing summer run. Got great positive feedback from the pod, and we had an awesome wrap-up party in July, and where we shared our joy and our realness and our authenticity about how we made the decision to take on the podcast. And I love seeing our friends, and we did a panel discussion, and we're hoping we're going to manifest in season 2 a live pod. So stay tuned for that. Where you will be in the audience, and we will not have any retakes or editing. It'll be just us live, whatever God brings through us.
And the goal is to engage more and to really, when we do things live, we know that there's a difference when we're together in person. Out of necessity, we've had to do things remotely, but we're back together again. And we just thought another way to elevate our level of joy is to do a live podcast. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited, and I think we had such great guests this last season. Mm-hmm. I was nervous. I'm like, how are we going to top season 1? Because it really, it kind of was a rhythm, like you say, crescendo, which is your word. It really built up to an awesome ending of season 1. So I was like, what kind of guest? But we are going to have an incredible guest, and we are going to have a conversation today, Connie and I, about our why. And for those listening here in season 2, our why really helped us make this decision to take on a podcast, to do Joy in the Breakthrough. And so I know when we were at the wrap-up party, people are asking, why we decided to do this and how it kind of stretched each of us differently. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be able to share with our listeners today, some of our techniques that helped us discover our why and our purpose and how we align that with our lives. So I know Connie gets this asked a lot. I think I probably asked you when we first sat down. It's like, so how did you know, Connie, that you wanted to do this podcast, and also in your rewirement, what does that look like in your why when you first started out in your journey, your career journey, professional journey, and to where you are now?
So I'd say let's broaden our aperture a bit, because when we talk about our why, it is directly tied to purpose. So it's a nuanced thing between my why and what I believe to be my purpose, or as I like to say, sometimes my calling. The why was born in me so very long ago. And that why has shifted, Anna. But the core of it is, one of my favorite quotes is, the good deeds I do for others is the rent I pay for occupying space on the earth. So the why is because of the ways that I grew up, the things that I did or did not have, and the challenges that I faced, I knew that I wanted to be an individual who could bring some peace or some compassion and some love to some of the unjust situations that I saw, the inequities in the world, but fueled by some practical skills, education, all of those things, good mentors, coaches, and sponsors. So my why really comes both from my head, hands, and heart. And it has shifted over time as, I've gotten additional resources, certainly wisdom. And I don't assume that wisdom comes with age. I think it was Dr. King who says, that wisdom doesn't always roll in on the wheels of inevitability. Sometimes age comes first. Mm-hmm. So in being able to use that wisdom, my why then is really, it's what we say in our Girl Scout Promise of Law, to make the world a better place. And there's so many things to that tied to the purpose of how I actually get that done and how I know I feel inside when I'm delivering that. Coming finally back to our podcast, which is to be able to use words, to have conversations, to listen to other people's stories and how they can strengthen and broaden our perspective. I have learned so much.
Oh my gosh!
Right,
same.
With the guests that we've had,
all the guests we've had, and I know when we started this podcast, we had tea, we had our Christmas tea, and we were manifesting and talking about, and our whys are very similar about service, and I chose that in a way of public service, and it was just really 2 years ago that I really sat down and got quiet and asked myself, what is it that I care about? What are my passions? What is my purpose? Because I think it does help you when you need to make those decisions, career or family, or following a pursuit, it always ties back to that why. Why are you showing up? And for you and I, we had this conversation. We would love to have coffee with every person who asked us. And in fact, I did 2 coffees last week with fellows, mayoral fellows, ending the year. And I love that 10 of them wanted to meet, but I said I can't do 10 separate coffees or speed dating, which I've done, which 15-minute intervals. That's just too much. Right. But we were able to break it down. And I had a lot of questions from them about how did you decide to do a podcast? And how do you know when it's the right career move? And how do you know what's the best fit for you? And it goes back to really having to figure out what is that, that why and purpose that you're aligning with and that you can hold on to. So when you're making those decisions, you go to it. And I also feel like there's a physical piece to it.
For sure.
Because when we were talking about the podcast, I get very animated and excited when I know it's aligned with my why and I know that it's the right move for me. You can feel it physically, that excitement igniting a fire.
Well, and you and I talk all the time about the physiological response to decisions that we make or have to make. And you've often heard me say that our bodies don't always believe our minds lie.
Yes.
When people ask us how we're doing and we say we're fine, our bodies have this response based on tension, right? I don't know, sometimes
like we're fine,
right,
we're so stressed.
We're just right, and
we're
just
clenching our jaw.
So
yes.
Physiologically, it doesn't connect with what we're saying. Our minds won't believe that, and it'll manifest in different ways. Headaches, whatever that looks like. Last season we talked about self-care and all those kinds of things. The importance of sleep. All of those things are true. So the other thing I thought about, Anna, and in doing the podcast with you, when we talked about it, was why not?
Yes.
That was the other question I asked myself. Why not? Because, I'm all about the data. There are millions of podcasts out there. What would be different about what Anna and I would bring to the discourse? And I really did, after journaling and thinking about it, saying, why not? We are unique individuals. As our Creator has made us all unique and divine and gifted in different ways. There is something unique that you and I bring to the conversation. And if we never tried, our why not would have not been fulfilled. And the courage that just for me being able to do it and your encouragement for me doing that. Because, I do a lot of speaking, you do a lot of speaking, but this is very different.
No, it is. And for those listening, we get one shot. There's no pauses, re-go. Exactly. It's like live and we just go, and what you all get at the end is what you get. And that's so different from us.
Well, and my other thing that I've said to you several times, I thought podcasts were without cameras. It's like, I thought I'd just have a microphone, we'd have this lovely conversation. It would have nothing to do with the physical attributes or who we are and how we are. And when you added that to it, that just took my level of stress right up there. But that became the why not. Why not? If what we are saying lands in a way that we intended to, Anna, right? With love and respect and information.
And impact.
And impact.
If we can, either us or our guests that we brought in last season can impact one person listening and say, I do not feel alone. I feel part of community. I feel empowered, encouraged. That to me and you is worth all of it and worth, doing the work, because it is work to do the podcast. But when you're working within your why and your purpose, it does not feel like work.
We've heard people say that, because
you feel energized.
They love what they do. They've never worked a day in their life. Because they're so involved and engaged with it. It's how I feel when I'm delivering a talk from my heart, when people are asking and engaging. And I was thinking last night about the why of this podcast. For you and me, it's we hear you. Yes. The why. We hear you.
Hi, I'm Darius Hillman. Joining me on the fall season premiere of In the Arena, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. Take a look.
My mother was brilliant. And I feel like I know I watched this world judge her as not enough. And I grew up believing and being told that there's a city for them and a city for us.
Yes.
And so for me, getting into this role and to not bring all of those people who did not have access to these rooms with me, I have an obligation, not just to my mom and my grandmother, but to truly thousands who have the same lived experience, who are told that they are not enough. And so it is the reminder that when you see me, you see them.
Join the conversation Tuesday, September 12th at 7 p.m. on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and the CAN TV Plus app.
So our why for the podcast, in addition to lots of other reasons, though, I thought of an acronym. we hear you. Our conversations, we want to engage with our viewers and our listeners, that we hear you. They inspire us.
Yes, our listeners do. And at the wrap party, I felt that too.
Yes.
There were some women that I haven't seen in forever that came to support us. And even actually, I sat down with an old friend, and she told me after the wrap party, she's like, I went back and I listened to every episode in a row. And something that I had said to her, and I think we said this actually on the panel, was that everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Because that was from our relationships and with Bella Gande. Not everyone, yes, not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. And there are times where we edit our friends and our seasons. That was with Bella Gande and our relationship. And so the fact that I said that? And she's like, yeah, you did. I'm like, oh, okay. Sometimes I just black out because it's like Jesus starts flowing in our conversations. I forget what I say, but you're so right. You know, we hear you, and they give us joy, our listeners, and we're so lucky to share life with you.
I was blown away by the support we got at the rep party, and just the way that our friends showed up for us. Incredibly busy people who had multiple events, as many of them typically do on any given evening.
Especially a summer evening.
A summer evening, but they showed up and they were with us throughout the whole thing, gave us good feedback. And so we hear you, and we are grateful for that support. And it really encourages us to just continue to pour everything we have into this, to listen to what we're hearing, and to live our lives according to our why. And how, if in any ways, Anna, has your why shifted as you've grown, as you've become a wife and a mother?
I feel like this work I did 2.5 years ago with my executive coach. He asked me, and I knew my purpose, and I shared it with him. And then we kind of I refined it in the last year and a half or so, that my purpose just is only in public service. It's really broader than that. And it's really to heal and give hope to communities that have been underinvested in and looked over and passed over. And then I also incorporated my passion on women and girls and youth, and said, the universe can use me in multiple ways. So it's not just through public service or even local government, but it could be through this podcast and through other different, speaking opportunities. So I think I was limiting myself in my why and my purpose, and so editing it. And also, I think it's really important to stop and get quiet with yourself.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And I had someone else in my life say, I can't sit silent. Silence makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to, I have to be doing. And I asked her, I challenged her in the loving way, can you also challenge yourself? Just start with 5 minutes and let whatever come, just be there. And sometimes that's also when we might have to take on something that we need professional help with to get through a little hump. But that silence and just being has brought so much to light for me in a positive way of, okay, what am I really passionate about? Where do I want to invest my time and energy into? And your purpose and why allows you to say, okay, I don't have that much time in the day or energy anymore. Now I have a daughter that relies on me, and a family and a public office and my friends. And so how can I limit and make sure that the time I'm investing in my energy is aligned with that why, so I am being actionable with my steps and I'm fulfilling my purpose? Because just this week, and this, we had very busy weeks, we're getting stretched then so much, and we're getting asked to do a ton. And I know you like to say that no is a complete sentence. And so I have to practice those no's to make room for those hell yeses, as my friend Ellie says, and allow that to flourish in my purpose. So yes, in the last even year, I've had to go back and edit. And I think it's important to have those check-ins to know if you are still in alignment or maybe not.
I totally agree. And our why doesn't have to be some big thing that's in neon lights. I often say to people, if you were able to get up this morning and feel good about who you are, that's enough. And comparison is the thief of joy. So I don't compare my why to your why or anybody else's, but it is, what do I intend to do today? And how will that intention inform my actions? Because that then is what creates a pattern in my life.
Yes.
Oftentimes we'll say, our intentions are so much bigger than what we actually do. An intention is not an action. So how do we move from intention to action? But just making sure we're clear that our why resonates with who we are, and not judging ourselves.
Oh, the
right?
judging.
That's
the
a big
judging
challenge.
ourselves, the guilt that we feel at times of following your purpose or why, and that saying no. You know, I'm a people pleaser. I'm trying to recover.
Right.
But saying no because you don't have the time and energy, and if you say the wrong yeses, you are really hurting your purpose and why.
Well, because at some point when you say yes too many times, we're scattered in all kinds of directions.
There's no focus.
There's no focus.
And your time and energy is
That's right.
drained for the wrong thing.
And for me, I know if I do that, and when I do that, I become a little irritable.
A little. I come a lot of irritable.
It's a little.
I say, red flag,
Exactly. It's
time
like,
out.
stop.
I need a time out.
Yeah.
And this just happened for me last week.
Sure.
You know, I told you this. Oh, we text all the time. And I said, on Friday, I had to sit down with my husband. I said, I'm in the red zone. I overbooked my calendar. I said yes to too many things last week coming back from a vacation, and I felt guilty for not being enough. Here comes the I'm not enough talk of I'm not enough for mom or being a leader or a friend or a wife. I did not say not enough for me.
Interesting.
So I had to get quiet that Sunday and then ask for what I needed from my husband. I said, you know, next weekend I'm going to take a day just for myself.
For sure.
Alone time. Sure. I'm with people all the time. I'm with my daughter or with people at work or community. And just to get aligned with my why, you know, this weekend, and just have some time to limit the distractions and quiet and make sure the things I'm saying yes to are aligned with my purpose.
Well, and you ask me this all the time in rewirement. My schedule is full, and I'm being mindful of that as well, because in my corporate life, I was accustomed to being booked every hour, doing those kinds of things, and in rewirement, it has become important for me to say it's okay to pause some of that. There are certainly things that I want to continue, but making sure that I'm true to the writing project, that we talked about, that I am investing the time.
Listeners, keep Connie accountable. We should ask every time we start in the studio. She said Fridays were going to be her writing days.
But I'm here with you.
The book is going to come out. We're going to manifest it. It's coming out.
It's got to be born. But yeah, it is that whole thing, even in rewirement, is making sure that I take the time, because those are things that I've always wanted to do. And now it's investing the time. And, you know, we use the same language to describe time as we do money. We invest time, we invest money. We spend time, we spend money. We save time, we save money. Although I don't know how we can save time since it's continually moving, but I think of it in those terms and say, you're right, I have to invest more time in the one dream or vision that I have for getting some of the things that I've talked about in the form of a book, that I can share more of what I care about, and I think
and have a larger impact.
And
I know I will be at the book signing. I know one of the things that I think, you know, going back to some of these mayoral fellow coffees I had, because it brought back to what you're saying, the physiological part of it, is also when I make decisions, whether it's professional, we'll go back to kind of the professional lens and then personal. During internships or work opportunities, I thought I had this one job that I love. I was like, this is the pinnacle job. But I found out really quickly, I never left the office. I never left. Really, I was always in meetings. I was always problem solving, which I like, but it was just draining. And then when I became city clerk, I had this kind of hybrid where I was in the office, but I was a lot in the community. And I found really quickly I love being around certain people, most people, but they brought me joy and energy, and my team can see my smile is back and it's real, it's not forced. And so I found out really quickly, whatever I do professionally has to be some hybrid, well, really external for me, but has to do with people. And then that aligned with, okay, that's a passion to fill into my purpose.
Well, I see that two ways,
really
right?
has to be like that.
How you think about introversion and extroversion. You're an extrovert. You get your energy from other people or external things. I'm an introvert. And so I get more energy by doing solitary pursuits or being alone. So you're right, for you to know that and literally feel it. When you're in the community with other people, you are energized. Now, I enjoy being with people too. It's just how I refresh and restore after that.
Yes.
And I've seen it. When you're out in the community, it's the magic that you do. And engaging authentically, Anna. It's not just handshaking and moving on to the next person.
And it's really stopping and listening to hear stories. And I think also, you know, that's how I've learned to make policies and making decisions, because I've been able to hear stories and find those resources for people that are looking for it, because those stories just change your life. And so that's why I told a lot of the fellows, like, when you're making a job decision and you're trying to decide, look at those past experiences, whether they're internships or past jobs that you had or professions you've had, and then write down kind of what are the things you really enjoyed, what are the things you didn't really enjoy, what what gave you energy, what drained your energy, and that'll help you find that foundation of your purpose and your why. But we are always so busy moving onto the next thing, onto the next project, that we don't take the time to, again, really ask ourselves those questions and reflect to see how that can be the foundation of your why and your purpose.
And why is such a powerful word. You have Rihanna's 3, right?
3, yes.
And one of the things that I've observed and learned and read about is children always ask why.
Oh my gosh,
right?
Do they ever?
It's not because I said so, it's a why. And why is so powerful. And as we continue to peel it back, well, I want to do whatever the case is, why? Why do I want to do that? And to really continue to peel that back until there is no more why. Why do I want to write a book? Why do I want to impact people's lives? Why do I want to do a podcast? Why? To get to because I believe that is my purpose.
Yes.
Is to use any gift that I have of exhortation or speaking or engaging and connecting with people. That's really the purpose. And the why is because that's what I believe I was put here to do, and to continue to work through that. But I love watching little kids when you talk to them, and I've seen it with Rihanna, with you.
Yes.
Why?
And I think I love that beauty of asking yourself those questions. And I think that I go back to that sacred time that we always take. And I know for you and I, we're always asking God for guidance too.
For sure.
And for speaking. So I think it's important to get to those questions and journal it, so you can go back and reflect it, and you don't forget. And then also, I love journaling. I know you love to journal. You can go back and see different eras of your life,
Right.
and how that has shifted over time.
Oh my, yes.
And then also how strong you are and what you've grown through and been through. And I feel like your purpose and why will shift maybe a little over time, but it'll be there at the core. And then when you come to those decisions, a fork in the road, you have something to go back to, and making calculated risks, like even jumping off and doing this.
Right. And we're not suggesting that we engage in this perpetual navel gazing, right? This isn't some philosophical journey that we go on. It really is a why. It's connected to the purpose.
And it's actionable.
And it's actionable. But it's us continuing to evaluate ourselves and think about it. That's where the growth is. And when we get to an uncomfortable why, then we explore. We may sit with that for a minute. Why did I choose to do X over something else? Was it because of comfort? Was it because of fear? Or was it because I really didn't know, and do I need to seek other counsel? That why. And it's an ongoing process. But it's making ourselves open to it, right, Anna? That we're willing to
Yes,
flow.
you have to be open to it, and I have to flow. And so, I know we could go on and on,
For sure.
but I want to go to our favorite part, our segment. We've got tips and techniques. For me, really is about making sure you sit in the quiet. I like to get in a cozy place in my house or maybe outside, and sip some hot tea or coffee, get your journal out and ask those questions about your why, and just start kind of what is outlining your purpose. Maybe you pick your 3 passions, so you know what you're also passionate about. And that can also become a metrics for when you decide to make a move on your career, or maybe it is to launch a podcast. But whatever it is, that why and that purpose will help you then create actionable steps to make sure that you're focused and you have a North Star to guide you through this crazy thing we call life.
I love it. And I want to bring the why to calculated risks. And we define that as a chance taken after careful estimation of outcomes. So how do we take calculated risks in exploring our why? You know that there is an outcome, but you're willing to take that to lead to more growth and more adventure.
And lead to joy,
Yes.
which is the podcast.
Always.
Lead to joy.
Always.
And so, Connie, as we close out, we always have say less. I wanted to write down this word you said, but you said it too fast. I'm going to have to go back and ask you after the pod. But Connie is always giving us these gems, these words, these phrases that you can say more by saying less. So, Connie, what do you got for us?
Well, having the privilege of working with both Anna Valencia and Anna Deshawn, there is this intergenerational magic that I believe we've created. And say less, as some of you know, is a colloquial term in certain areas that just means just say a little bit less. You can get a lot across. And so this segment today, I wanted to just share, too often we prioritize productivity over doing something we really enjoy. And our why has to be tied to that purpose, because productivity is, Anna and I've already talked about how busy we can sometimes allow ourselves to become. That's productivity, that's not purpose. So my say less is, let's make sure that we prioritize our why and our purpose. We need to be productive in achieving those things, but not at the risk of us not being able to feel fulfilled, to feel healthy and making good decisions about our lives, so that when someone asks us about our why, it's so evident in the way that we live our lives. And so I'd say, why not begin discovering your why today?
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us to kick off season 2 of Join the Breakthrough. Join us next week and keep watching us on CAN TV. We're on Spotify now, so I feel like big time. And so please come back to Join the Breakthrough, and we look forward to season 2 with you.
Thank you.